Adele Ferguson, welcome back to 7:30.
Good to see you.
Now, look, we've got a report here that says that the regulator, ASIC, is reluctant or unwilling to commence investigations. After all we've been through with ASIC, how do we get to this point that that's what a report finds now?
Well, that's the big question. This has been going on for decades. We've had a number of these inquiries. In 2014, we found that the regulator was so ineffective that it called for a royal commission into the Commonwealth Bank because ASIC wasn't capable of doing its job. Fast forward to 2018, we have a royal commission. It is scathing of ASIC. Nothing happens. We're here in 2024, and here's another report.
So what's at the heart of this? Are they not properly funded? Do they not have the appetite to regulate the business community? What is at the heart of the failures that this report has found?
It's all of those things. Its remit is way too wide. So over the years, as it's been seen to be ineffective, timid, too slow, Treasury has been giving it more and more things to look at. You know, consumer law, banking, insurance, all these things have been loaded onto this regulator. Its budget has been increased a bit, but when you look at it in the perspective, it raises $1.8 billion a year. Its budget is about $500 million. It doesn't have enough money, and then it's got a culture that is toxic. The staff aren't properly motivated, according to a survey that was released recently. So there's a lot of problems with this regulator.
What would be the purpose, as the report suggests, of splitting ASIC in two? What difference would that make?
Right now, it's doing two things. It's looking at compliance of how companies and the market operate, and it's also meant to be an enforcer. It's not doing the job as an enforcer properly. That's one of the big problems with ASIC. So the suggestion is if you split it in two and have a separate enforcement agency, then maybe it will do its job better.
Now, you used a very strong term before. You said the culture inside ASIC is toxic. So would the kind of solutions that are being called for in this report fix those internal culture problems, do you think?
I think what needs to happen is you need to have a proper, the Senate inquiry can only do so much. You need to have experts really look at how a new look regulator should look, have a look at whether the governance is correct, the leadership is correct. Should the governments be picking the chairs, or should it be done in a different way? So there's many ways that need to be looked at that this report hasn't gone into that I think needs to happen, but it's so important that it's done properly.
Now, tell me about that, because one of the findings of the inquiry is that ASIC itself rarely operates with the severity permitted by its own mandate. So why is it so reluctant to use the powers that it already has?
Well, I guess that gets down to the culture. If you have a culture that isn't to use the powers that you have, then you're not going to use those powers. And that's been going on for decades. It's not just a recent phenomenon. During the Royal Commission, some of the horrifying things that came out were that it was letting companies read draft press releases before they release them. And the Commissioner Haynes said, the regulated is dictating what the regulator says.
Now, as we know, the government's just received this report. They'll take some time to look at it. But if you had a message for them about what they should focus on, what the most important thing to do to transform ASIC, what would you, Adele Ferguson, say?
I would say we need a proper enforcement agency. Too many people have lost too much money over the years from companies that have done the wrong thing, and the regulator has been missing in action. So we really need to have a better regulator.
Now, of course, as an investigator, you have spent time with the individuals, because in the end, this is about ordinary Australians who lose money because of the failure of this organisation. That's right, isn't it?
Absolutely. There have been so many victims. I get emails every day from people who've been done over by insurance companies, banks, franchise companies, and the regulator. There's a common theme. Where is the regulator?
Adele Ferguson, always a pleasure to have you in our studio, well, nearly in our studio. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.